Quote.
Absolutely. That is an out-and-out lie, which I will swear to on a stack of Bibles, his mother's grave and my mother's grave. And why he came up with a piece of garbage like that is beyond me. I would, one, never have said that. Number two, never have said anything like that. Number three, it sounds like a bad script out of a 5th grade comic book, and I was very close to filing a libel suit when that came up. However, I thought we've got enough lawsuits going on. It's going to be my word against his. It will drag out for another 2 or 3 years in court for what? But if it ever comes up again, I will likely have to change my attitude.
Do you have any specific recollection of speaking to Mr. Brown at any...
No, I don't.
How did the group anticipate Mr. Preston would respond when they proposed to put him on leave?
That's never really discussed with me anyway. I would assume, just in my opinion, if I was in Mr. Preston's shoes and somebody wanted to do that, I'd probably object to it, but it was never discussed, not with me anyways, as to how he might feel about it.
That wasn't the order that he would not obey, was it?
There was no such thing. There was no such thing.
Let's mark the next exhibit as Exhibit 6. Do you recall receiving this email as carbon copied by Mr. Moore?
Let me take a look. Let me read this email. I don't recall getting this email. Now, I could have, but it doesn't ring any bells.
Well, first of all, let's start off. When is the email that reflects that you were carbon copied dated?
Yeah, that was 9/23/08.
And down below, in the second sentence of the body of that email, it's a Linda Gilstrap. And it says, and I quote, Tom Allen, Tommy Dunn, and myself would like a detailed copy of the budget for this fiscal year period, end quote. Do you see that?
I see it.
Did you express a desire for a detailed copy of the budget for this fiscal year?
Not to my knowledge. I didn't discuss getting anything like this, talking about hundreds of pages.
Why is Mr. Moore attributing that to you?
Well, that's a very good question. The only thing I can assume is he felt we were all the new guys coming in and all one vote, and he would use the plural, because I don't recall getting this email. Now, I could have, but I don't recall.
Why does everyone keep attributing things to you?
I think everybody does that simply because we were the new crew coming in, so it's just easier to lump us all together.
To your recollection, Mr. Moore did not discuss with this, To your recollection, Mr. Moore did not discuss this with you before asking for a copy of the budget on your behalf?
There was talk about, getting a budget, but I don't recall any talks. I don't recall any talks of anything this detailed, broken out this way. Now the second paragraph down there with Holt Hopkins, I do know that we asked about vehicles, and I was on a subcommittee to look at the vehicles and find out who really needed to have vehicles to drive home and so on. So I know we discussed that, but I don't recall a budget of this detail at Eddie's.
Do you recall requesting a listing of all county vehicles by department?
Yes, that was that came up. That was after after the vehicle subcommittee was formed, though, to look at vehicles. We went through that.
Is a September of 2008 timeframe for your meeting with Holt Hopkins consistent with your recollection?
Yes.
Do you know why Mr. Moore is asking for a detailed copy of the budget for the fiscal year in September of 2008?
I don't know why he's asking for one in that detail. Let me read something here again. It says here it needs to be complete and not purged. I'm assuming from this that he has seen something that he felt was purged. He wants a more detailed, line item listing. And that's, I don't know.
Is this in connection with mapping out the agenda for the next upcoming year?
Well, as I said, the financial, the monetary part of it, the fiscal policies was one of the key things that was being questioned. So yeah, this would fit in with looking at the fiscal status of the county.
I think your answer was yes, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Was this budget information, to your knowledge, shared with Bob Daniel prior to January of 2009?
Not to my knowledge.
Was this detailed budget information requested in connection with the group's plan for an audit?
I would think that, yes. That would certainly fit into the puzzle. If you're going to do an audit, it would be nice to have a detailed list of everything.
Was that an audit that the group formally planned to undertake as of January 2009?
That's what I assume this is going to be involved in.
What I want to ask you is, if you can flip back to the last exhibit for 1 second, and I think that was Exhibit 6.
6?
Up above, do you see where Eddie Moore appears to forward your the email on which he carbon copied you below?
Forwarded by Eddie Moore. Yes.
Who does he forward it to?
Oh, WAIM radio? That's who it's to. I don't know. Who are you looking at there? Which one?
Down below it says, and I quote, Rick, comma, for your eyes only, exclamation point. Do not share, dot, 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 exclamation mark.
Yeah.
Who's Rick?
Rick Driver, WAIM radio owner.
What does he do for a living?
Talk radio, owns a radio station.
Were you aware that Mr. Moore was forwarding certain information such as this to Mr. Driver?
No, I wasn't.
Did he ask you whether that was okay with you before he did it?
No.
Was it okay with you that he would forward information like this to a talk radio host?
No.
Why do you think he's forwarding this information?
Why do I? You want my opinion on why I think he's forwarding this?
Yes, sir.
He had a significant support base through the talk radio station, and I think he felt that was an ally. Probably why he was forwarding it there.
Let me show you the next email. Exhibit number 8. By the who's Linda Gilstrap?
Oh, she's the clerk of council, Linda Ellen.
What I'd like to know is, were you ever asked to come sign the attached letter?
Yes, I recall that.
Did you do so?
If we did, I know we had a discussion on this about not signing it because we had no authority to sign it. As far as it being authoritative in any way. Now, we may have gone ahead and signed it knowing that it really carried no weight. But I know we talked about it because it didn't seem like the thing to do. And if we did, that it really didn't amount to anything. You know, McNair could throw this in the wastebasket.
Why did it not seem like the thing to do?
Because we had no authority. We hadn't actually been elected yet. We had no authority to require the McNair law firm to do anything.
Did you end up signing this?
You know, I cannot remember. If you have a copy of it, fine, please show me because I can't remember. But I know we discussed this as to whether we should or shouldn't, or if it even had any authority, and I'm tending to think we didn't sign it, but I'm not positive.
And the signature block reflects the place for you to sign as the
Elect.
Councilman-elect for District 4, correct?
And if I could, we may have signed that, and that may be something that was added to this, council-elect. Let them know that we really weren't on council, and then we might have signed it.
But you don't deny having signed it, you just don't remember.
I don't deny it, no, I just don't recall. I know we discussed it, though, when it came up and had questions about, do we have any authority to do that? And if so, does it have any validity at all?
You can turn back to the front page of Exhibit 8. The Miss Wilson, that's Miss Cindy Wilson?
Cindy Wilson,
Is she on county council at this time?
Yes.
And do you recall what she requested that you and Mr. Dunn, well that's Mr. Moore, Mr. Dunn, and yourself come sign the attached letter?
Yes.
Do you recall that she requested that you sign the attached letter in the capacity as councilman-elect for District 4?
Yes.
When is this proposed letter dated?
October 13th, 2008.
And that's the same date on the cover email, is it not?
Yes, it is.
And Linda Gilstrap is the clerk for the county council.
Yes.
Exhibit 9. Do you know what book is being referenced in this email?
I don't unless I go back and make an assumption that it's the financial breakdown that he was talking about.
Did you ever receive one of those?
No.
Did anyone ever receive one?
Not to my knowledge.
Let's look at Exhibit 10. Is this an email from Eddie Moore dated November 13th of 2008?
Yes.
Are you BC'd on this?
I am.
Do you recall receiving this?
Let's see what it says here. I don't recall receiving it, no.
Who's Gail King?
She's over the computer information system program.
And the question I have for you relates to the second sentence. And I quote, "We new council members just wanted to make sure no county documents are destroyed at all before our auditors examine them," end quote. Do you see that?
I do.
What auditors is Mr. Moore referencing on behalf of the 3 or the new council members?
Again, I would have to believe that it's whoever this audit team is going to be. That's been discussed before by him and Mr. Walter doing the audit. Now, whether that's Bob Daniel or whoever else, I'm not exactly sure who he's talking about.
When you met at Mr. Waldrop's office, was there a day of the week you normally met him?
Normally Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon.
Uh-huh.
Do you recall receiving this email from Eddie Moore dated November 20th of 2008?
Let me see, I don't recall getting this email. It certainly looks like I did. That's my address. But I can't recall it off the top of my head receiving it.
You don't recall receiving this email?
No.
It is sort of an unusual email, don't you think?
It is. That's why I thought I would remember it. Yes, it's a strange email.
Do you know what Mr. Moore is referencing when he says, explain your comments?
No, I don't.
What comments did Mr. Hawkins make?
I don't know.
Down below, the sentence says, and I quote, he is part of our big, probably, period, end quote. Can you tell me what that means?
Well, I presume there he meant to say problem. He is part of our big problem. He meant the word problem, right?
Do you believe that may just be a problem with the mastery of the English language?
I certainly think it was a typo at the very least because it makes no sense as it is. He is part of our big probably.
And then next he says, and I quote, that he's Joey's boy, end quote.
Uh-huh.
Is that accurate? Is Hawkins Joey's boy?
In my experience with Holt has been very upfront and fair with us. And we've got a good relationship. I would not at this point back then, I don't know. I didn't know Holt Hopkins really well, but having worked with him for a while, I think Holt's been very upfront and good with us, and I have no reason to think that he is part of any kind of conspiracy or plot or Joey's boy.
Has your experience with Mr. Hopkins been consistent or inconsistent with Mr. Moore's characterization of him as, quote, Joey's boy, end quote?
I would say inconsistent.
Do you recall receiving Exhibit 12 from Mr. Moore on November 25th of 2008?
Okay, let's see what it says. Yeah, okay.
Do you continue to agree with the content of this letter?
Can I go through it line by line?
Oh, page 101.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Line 4?
Mm-hmm.
What?
That's you.
Oh, yes, sir. Sorry.
I think he's referring to November 18th, 2008, isn't he? The buyout?
I believe so. I think he may have just had the wrong date.
So that's a typo. It was evidence that collusion and other things took place during that meeting that was illegal. With this sentence, first of all, it's incorrect. Secondly, we have no judgment whether it was illegal or not. It didn't look good, and I've said that several times in statements. I felt like that it was a very strange meeting, kind of a slap in the face of democracy, the way all that stuff went down, 1.1 million showing up, new contracts being pulled out of a purse, etc. It did look strange, but was it illegal? I don't know. That's why it's going through the court system. So with that sentence...
You would disagree with that characterization, that it was evident that it was illegal?
That's correct.
Would you disagree with the statement that it was evident that collusion took place?
When you define collusion, it's really going to be difficult to define that. If one council member picked up the phone and talked to another council member, is that collusion? It wasn't a quorum, wasn't a meeting, and if that one other council member contacted another council member, well, that's not illegal. I don't know. I'd have to see. I hate to be troublesome, but I'd like to see a definition of collusion. I don't know whether that fits it or not. I don't know if it could be proven that it was collusion. I don't know if there was anything in that meeting. It looked awful, but collusion? I don't know.
If you look down below, Mr. Allen, this is a document that was produced to us from Floor Daniel as reflected by the Bates number. And that would be a document that was in Eddie Moore's email account in the Floor Daniel IT network. What is this agenda?
That's what I'm wondering. This doesn't... Cindy nominates Eddie as chairman. This is... No, man, this is not me. I don't care if my name's on top of this, huh?
You understand that this was produced to me by a third party, right?
No, I don't. I don't know that. Well, who? May I ask who?
Floor Daniel.
Floor Daniel produced it to you? Okay, that's fine.
And do you understand that at the same time they produced this to me, well, actually, prior to producing this to me, they produced this to Mr. Moore's personal attorney, and I presume to the county's attorneys?
Okay, and?
Do you understand further that this is the same exact document that your attorneys have received from Floor Daniel as I received?
Okay.
Do you deny having made this agenda?
Absolutely yes.
Is your
Yes?
email account thomas9976@charter.net?
Yes, it is.
Is it dated December 24th of 2008?
Yes, it is.
Is this email to Tommy Dunn and Eddie Moore?
Yes, it is.
Does it say, and I quote, "Gentlemen, attached is my draft version of the agenda. I know it will change, but I tried to make the best out of my chicken scratch notes. Tom."
Yes, it does.
Does this agenda reflect on page 2? Reflect that Cindy would nominate Eddie as the chairman.
Yes, it does.
Did Cindy nominate Eddie as the chairman
Of what?
of the county council?
See, I wasn't the chairman. I didn't make up any agenda for county council.
But that's not the question I'm asking you.
Yeah?
Was Mr. Moore nominated
Yes.
chairman
He was.
of county council?
Yes, he was.
In that same meeting on January the 6th of 2009, a vice chair was also nominated, was it not?
Yes.
Did the chairman, presumably Mr. Moore, make comments condemning the previous council's actions during the January 6th of 2009 meeting?
Was that the second meeting or first meeting that was the first meeting of January, wasn't it?
Yes, sir?
In 2009. Okay. He may have. I don't recall what he said. It would be easy enough to go back and look at the minutes.
Were ad hoc committees named during that meeting?
Normally the committees are all named at the second council meeting of the year, not the first.
But in that instance, they were named in the first meeting, weren't they?
They may have been. They may have been.
Were audit and personnel issues and duties dictated during that meeting?
May have been. I don't recall.
And in fact, wasn't the Nexon Pruitt firm also hired and Mr. Daniels during the January 6th, 2009 meeting?
I think they probably were. They probably were.
I'm not sure what some of these other items actually mean, so it makes it more difficult for me to ask questions about them. I just want to make sure I understand. Your testimony is that this is a forged document?
Yes.
Why would a party forge this document and put it in Mr. Moore's email account?
I don't know. Let me ask you a question.
Well,
If I may?
it's up to your lawyer.
Okay.
Before we took a break so you could consult with your counsel about Exhibit 14, we were talking about this email and attachment dated December 24th of 2008. I was trying to understand, do you still believe that this was a forged document?
Yes.
Why would a forged document be in the email account of Eddie Moore at Floor Daniel?
I would like to know the answer to that question too. I explain how agendas are put together and what I think of this, or if you want to go ahead, if you've got some additional questions, that's fine too.
Well, what I'd like to know is, do you still have the email account thomas9976@charter.net?
I do.
How do you know that the emails from December of 2008 don't exist at Charter?
Because my computer blew up and the hard drive was actually taken out and sent to a special place in California that can supposedly recover anything. And they couldn't recover anything.
First of all, the agendas are put together primarily by
First of all, the agendas are put together primarily by the previous chairman, who signs off on, finalizes it. But the way the agenda is put together is each of the council members and the administrator calls the clerk of council and says, hey, I want to put this resolution on here. I need 5 minutes. I want to put this ordinance on here. I need 20 minutes, and so on and so on and so on. You get your agenda put together. They're all standard items on the agenda. At some point then, the chairman of council comes in and approves that agenda. The chairman doesn't write the agenda. He looks to see what people want in there, and he signs off on it, unless there's something way out of, if somebody asks for 3 hours to talk about their pet cat or something, they're going to take it off. An agenda would never be put together like this, first of all. Secondly, down here, this item 6, that's just, no way. Why would I have written an agenda? I was a nobody. I wasn't a previous chairman or the chairman of anything else. There would be no reason for me to write an agenda. I wouldn't have known how to write an agenda, and I wouldn't know about the stuff down here in item 6.
Is the document that is attached to the email from you dated December 24th, 2008 a 100% forgery?
I would say it's a forgery, yes.
Well, did you write it?
No.
So somebody else wrote it and attributed it to you, correct?
That is my yes.
Is it a 100% forgery?
Yes.
You're categorically denying having written this agenda.
Yes.
This is absolutely untrue and false.
Yes.
Let's look at what we'll mark as the next exhibit. Can you turn to page 2 of exhibit 15?
Yes.
I refer your attention to lines 25 and 26.
Okay.
Do lines 25 and 26 reflect that Cindy Wilson stated, and I quote, "I would like to nominate Eddie Moore as chairman, period," end quote?
Yes.
Can you look back at that prior exhibit?
Uh-huh.
Does item number 2 reflect that Cindy nominates Eddie as chairman?
Yes, it does.
Can you look down at lines 45 to 47 on page 2?
I'm sorry, page
Page 2.
45 to 47. Uh-huh.
Does this reflect that Bob Waldrop stated, and I quote, "I'd like to be recognized for the purpose of nominating Mr. Tom Allen as the vice chairman for Anderson County Council," end quote?
Yes.
Does item number 3 on the prior exhibit reflect the nomination of a vice chair?
Yes, it does.
And when I'm referring to exhibit 15, we're talking about the Anderson County Council meeting minutes from January 6th of 2009, are we not?
Okay. When you're doing what now?
Exhibit 15.
15, yeah.
Those are the minutes from January 6th of 2009, correct?
That's correct.
If you turn the page to page 3,
Okay.
and you look down to lines 31 through 38, and this is newly elected Chairman Moore, and he says, and I quote, "With that, comma, I would like to go to the special ad hoc committees. I would like to now appoint 2 ad hoc committees, which is done according to section 2370 of the Anderson County Codes, period. The first committee will be the Financial and Investigative Audit Committee, consisting of councilpersons Tom Allen, comma, Cindy Wilson, comma, Eddie Moore, comma, with Mr. Allen serving as the chairman, period," end quote. Do you see that?
Yes.
Now let's look back over at item number 4 on the prior exhibit.
Uh-huh.
Does item number 4 include the naming of the ad hoc committees?
Yes, it does.
And that's, in fact, what you did on January the 6th of 2009, as reflected on page 3, lines 31 through 38, is it not?